excursions?
We went to, there was like a lighthouse. I mean, we didn't go far anyway. We all went one day to, a beach that was about an hour drive away,
Okay.
and we spent most of the afternoon there. My wife's brother and sister and their families, one of the days went to a waterfall. It was like an hour away. It was,
He texted me.
we had kind of read about it, and it was unclear how much
That's
of a hike
right,
it would be.
and he's
out there,
doing
so
great
we just
stuff.
didn't mess with it with our youngest.
Yeah.
We don't want to mess with it, so we skipped that and stayed back, and
Oh, it's on?
then we were,
Can you turn it off?
we did a bunch of, you can turn your mic off. Or
No, I
could
don't
turn
think
mi-
we
I
can.
could turn mine off. We went
Why do we
on
start
Halloween,
recording before?
went shopping, and just wandered around. So we didn't, weren't that excited. Our youngest kid's car, so on the way back. Get pulled over. No, she's
Don't
right
know.
there. Is the car. We got
I'd
back
say
late
there's
Saturday.
more of a story to
So
tell.
it's like, the flight we had into Puerto Rico got there at like 3:30, and then we were just.
know when that came?
Yeah, like last Thursday, something.
And then we gained an hour coming back, so our flight.
Do you want this back?
Just before 9 o'clock.
Not necessarily,
And
but I
then
think that we
Sure, I
need to
got
do,
one.
Dave didn't, but what we need to be able to do is
it was late.
understand
It was,
other implications of the story, because everybody, but that's the whole thing. This is what I made a mistake. Well, everything was personally, you were right.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Then it wasn't registering, and I said, what allow me to do increments of 0.5, because it said, since I had our first,
Anyway, I'll be interested to know how it turns out.
but it wouldn't go in, so, we had to do it 9, and then saying it
felt
doesn't
like
match.
I need to be doing, like, what I'm gonna do in
So,
something.
you can't put it at 9.3. You know, I have to, and it's like, put 9.5. No, then it went to an error instead of a warning. I put 10 in there.
How are you?
And then at 9, it was error. And then
Yeah.
it was stupid.
Did you have a good? I would love to. Yeah.
Did I ever work?
Did you go anywhere for spring break, or were you just
No,
here?
the week before we were with Andy in California.
Couple of them I had to
So
fix.
it was wonderful. We did some hiking, just the two of us. And we went to Andy. It was so fun to see him
That I added
in
again.
his place.
Where is he? In?
He's in California at Palo Alto, and so now he is deciding
5 a.m.
of where he'll be for doctoral work starting in the fall. So it was pretty
And I was
fun.
able to get it through a group, if it was 10
Okay. 6 o'clock. Well, not quite, I guess.
and then we all got to sit by each other.
I know, that's what I told Jenny. Which is fine.
Everybody set? Cindy should be coming. How many are? 1, 2? Well, we're a quorum. Bob and Alan will be gone, but I assume Cindy will be here. We'll wait another moment.
I was really nervous to try surf out there, but it was fun. I'm glad I did. Yeah, yeah. But like on Tuesday, they had Boston. Sounds stupid.
Should I start?
Yepper.
Good evening, everyone. I call to order the Monday, March 21st regular meeting of the River Falls Board of Education. Welcome to our traditional boardroom that has not been our home for quite some time. This meeting has been properly notified, and I'm going to move directly into the hearing of delegations. Do we have any visitors or delegates who would like to address the board? All right, then we have acknowledgements, and I'll ask Todd.
Sure. So we've got a Wildcat Pride. Typically, I'd call you down on stage, so you lucked out for not having to come. But we have with us Dennis and Carol Ireland, and I'm going to read here. The Board of Education extends its gratitude to Dennis and Carol Ireland for your generous donation. Through your financial support in releasing your donated funds to the River Falls Community Foundation, you have improved safety for students and our community by purchasing lighted crosswalk signage. Hundreds of students and community members walk across busy streets, and your donation provides new push-button technology and specialized blinking lights on 8 new signs located near our schools. The impact of this generous gift is priceless. To invest in something that keeps children and pedestrians of all ages safe from a traffic incident is immeasurable. Your example of generosity to improve the quality of life for all who live in our community and is an example of putting others above yourself. Your investment in the lives of others who live in our community proves you to be true ambassadors of Wildcat Pride. So I'd like to have it come up if you can. Stacy's not going to let you get away either.
A few more things to say, and I'll tell you that when I was a new board member, I served with Manny Kenny, and I remember many lessons that he's taught me, but one of the things that he was never quite able to accomplish was the safe walk to school, to make sure that every child had sidewalks to be able to get to school. While we've not done that, I think your contribution has made a significant added benefit for the kids walking to school. So I first, as I told you before the meeting, I noticed the first one closer to my house at Rocky Branch, and then I saw some at Westside, and then realized that they were all over. So thank you for your vision, your commitment to our kids, and for your collaboration with the community. So thank you very much. All right, we are going to move into a spotlight on education, and we have the Renaissance Academy and Mr. Chris Silver.
It's all set. You just need to.
All right, so first of all, thank you for inviting me to come and talk about the Renaissance, give you a little update where we're at this year and maybe kind of where we're looking down the line to be in terms of goals. So,
Chris, just to be sure, if people are listening at home, maybe if you would please either carry that mic with you as far as it lets you go, or
we could do like the Vegas show and move around. And, okay, that's good. So, yeah, the purpose tonight is just give you an update. We talked about the vision with the Ed Program Committee. Now we're going to look at updates and some things that we're celebrating at the Renaissance, and then where we want to be down the line. So a couple updates. One thing that we've done this year is we've aligned our courses with the high school in the core subjects, so there's transcript consistency. So if it says English 9 at the high school, we can assume that English 9 is at the Renaissance as well, kind of following that curriculum. And we've adjusted our course numbers and everything to align so there's less confusion when students are coming in and out of our program. So we're excited about that. I think there was over 200 courses that we looked at and aligned, so that was a big thing for us. If you look at our website, we've created a planning guide similar to the high school, so we're looking at that academic career plan with career pathways, course descriptions, and college planning information for our students. And if you want to check that out sometime, that's available at our website, so that's an update. We feel very lucky to have Friday afternoons as our PLC time, and we have we're working on, I should say, on implementing that PLC model so that we can look at state, national standards, common assessment, best practice, and have those discussions in an authentic way through the PLC process. And it's working. So we meet every Friday afternoon, and we've had a number of successes there. We would like to visit other successful alternative programs in Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's high on our agenda to kind of look at best practice, what successful alternative high schools are doing, and hope to steal some ideas or borrow some ideas as we move along. We are one of the only alternative schools in our region that actually offers something beyond GED preparation. So we know there's schools out there, there just isn't many around our area. So on the one hand, it's nice to be alone in that category, but we're also pretty isolated. Student mental health is big for us. We work with a lot of students that are struggling in this area, and we're not alone. But some of the things that we're doing, we're using restorative practices to offer students some therapeutic support. And right now, we have, let's see, I think we have about 4 or 5 students using that service. We've collaborated with SART, Sexual Assault Team. We've had 5 consultations this year. We've implemented a wellness curriculum on Friday afternoons for students. We are continuing our collaboration and trying to get tighter with St. Croix and Pierce County Human Services to provide support for our students. We are using the Family Resources Center for Pregnant and Parenting Teens, 2 students. We are in a lot closer collaboration with Positive Alternatives at this point and working with their staff in ways that we can support students that we haven't been able to before. And we're working with the Emily program in St. Paul for eating disorders. We have 2 students that we're working with that we've referred to Emily program. So this is high on our list. Obviously, this hasn't been an easy 2 years for all students at high school as well, but in our program, we've been hit pretty hard with some pretty significant mental health challenges for our students. Little bit changing demographics as we move forward. We did a recent survey that indicates that 14 out of 39 students that responded identified themselves as LGBTQ. So we started a GSA program this year for students, and we have a faculty advisor. So we're having this as an option for kids for support. And we now have, this is, I think it's kind of interesting, we have 4 homeless seniors in our program, all of which are on track to graduate, which is exciting, but there's been some challenges to make sure that they're safe and they have a place to stay. So we work with a pretty, as you already know, pretty diverse population, a lot of economic security issues within our population. So that's kind of front and center for us to deal with, to make sure that they get the resources they need to finish high school. And we are blessed to have a really good social worker to help us with that process. So we are celebrating a number of things at the Renaissance. It's been a good year. We have 4 students that will be first-time graduates in their families, first-time high school graduates. We are expecting that 21 out of 22 seniors will graduate with a high school diploma this year. We have partnered with the River Falls Food Pantry to create an on-site food shelf for Renaissance families, so they basically don't, transportation sometimes is an issue for our students, so we have brought it to them with 897 pounds of food so far distributed year to date. We have had a $1,000 donation for clothing and food for students, so our community is helping us out as well. And we also, to give back a little bit, are having students volunteer at the food pantry. So it's kind of a give and take situation for us, but we're glad that our students and families are utilizing the resource. And the name of the new food pantry supervisor has escaped me. Does anybody know? But she's been wonderful to work with and loves working with our kids, so that's exciting. We did the connection survey similar to the high school, and we were kind of a little bit, I guess, surprised by the results, good results, that all but 2 students in our population of 66 students rated a significant connection to staff at a 4 or 5 on a rating scale up to 5. So we know that our students in our program feel relatively connected to their peers and to staff. So that was, that was kind of reaffirming looking ahead, we know there are a lot of success stories of Renaissance graduates who have entered the workforce in manufacturing, hospitality, and healthcare professions because I've talked to them. And they've given me a lot of good feedback. But one of the challenges we have, I think, is to gather more data on our graduates. So we are starting to look at 2- and 5-year responses. 2 primary questions: how did the Renaissance help you get to where you're at? And then what did you need that the Renaissance didn't provide? So that's another way of looking at it. And also, of course, of interest is going to be the careers that they landed in, how they got there after the Renaissance, and so forth. So that is a priority for us to attempt to gather that information. We're going to set up a alumni Facebook page as one strategy to try to get people hooked in after graduation. But we're very curious, of course, in terms of our role in the successes that our students are having, and also to find out what we could do better. We want to continue to develop our career pathways. We're now in a place where COVID is less of a barrier. So in the past, we've had student enterprises. We've sold items at the craft fair and by email notifications and stuff for our community. We make beautiful Adirondack chairs in our wood shop, and we've sold a lot of them, and they've funded a lot of the things we do in the shop. We haven't been able to do that for a couple of years. Last year our shop was shut down entirely because we just didn't have the space, COVID-wise, to guarantee the distance. But we're back in business, so to speak, and we're going to build some chairs. The students do an incredible job with signs, with the CNC. We've got those samples all over the Renaissance. If you ever come to our building, you'll see that they're very professional-looking signage, and we want to, as we move to our new location, see if we can't get businesses interested in that, in terms of what our students can produce. So we've got some ideas to create some micro enterprise experiences for kids. And instrument building is another one. We got started with building electric guitars. That was my idea. But there's a program in Red Wing, and we were kind of inspired by this instrument building program at the 2-year technical college in Red Wing. And we thought, could we, prime some interest there by having students use the CNC to build an electric guitar? So we have a prototype. And next year, when we're in our new facility, that'll be something that we're looking at, is maybe we can get some students actually building instruments. And we know that there's some artists and musicians in our crew, besides me. We are, fully leveraging at this point our CNC technology, manufacturing curriculum with Kyle Stapleton, and it's really amazing what they do with the laser engraver, Adobe Illustrator. I forgot the other name of the CNC program, but the technology, and to see students use it in the way that they do is really, really cool. We are going to continue our partnership with CVTC, which we highly value, and our Welding Academy. We've had a number of students go through that program in the last few years, about 6 successfully. A number are out there working in the manufacturing field. We want to seriously look at healthcare careers pathway and how we can help kids explore careers in healthcare and the technology end of that, EMT, CNA, maybe a pre-nursing idea. And with our new building, our hope is to have a chemistry or a lab that we can use for chemistry and other healthcare type introductory courses. We are continuing next term to offer transcripted credit or college credit through a course that I am teaching called Innovative Business Mindset. And we've got 8 students that are signed up for a college level course and are excited about that. And then we want to add agriculture ed or animal science to that next year. So that would be a transcripted credit opportunity for kids, which means that they'll get high school credit and 3 college credits for taking the course on site at the Renaissance. So these are exciting things for us to help students move to that next level. It's a scary thing, as you all know, but if we can give them a little bit of information and experience to help them and guide their way through a career that's meaningful, then we've done a good thing. So we're looking forward, obviously, to some expanded space. We've been kind of limited to 60 or 70 students for the last few years because of space. Our sweet spot for enrollment is a ratio of about 1 faculty member to about 14 or 15 students. For our population, that works best because our students are higher needs and they do thrive in a smaller, more family-type environment. So with that said, we've always been limited a little bit on space, both in physical space, but also just keeping that ratio in line with something that's going to be effective for kids. If we have classes at 32 to 1, then it's not the Renaissance. So that's what we're shooting for. So we are looking at a little more space in hopes of having a science and family consumer science lab. And we are looking at growing our population through some extended open enrollment opportunities, expanding that number from 5 to, I think we're looking at 15. And creating an equitable learning space so that a student having a high school experience at the Renaissance is having a similar experience to the River Falls High School in terms of facilities and building and furniture and that kind of thing. We want that to be equitable for our students, food, service, et cetera. So that's where we're at. That's where we're heading. I'm excited about the Renaissance. I think that we've had a really good year. It's not over yet, but we're having fun as we go along. And what the Renaissance provides for our students is a safe place where we try to model, a compassion and acceptance because many of these students have had hardship. That's the bottom line, probably the majority of our students. And that's with the economy and stuff the way it is right now. Don't foresee that getting a ton better, but we're there for them, and we know how to work with these students. We've, over the years, through experience, understand what their challenges are and how we can support them. Each case each student is an individual, but through time we've kind of understand where we need to be, and that population is changing. So with that, I'd ask you if you have any questions or anything you want to know about the Renaissance Academy.
You said there's 66 kids there enrolled right now?
Yeah, so at the start of the next term, there'll be 70 students.
70.
70 students.
And and what's the optimal number?
Yeah, so the
That you
ratio, right,
have?
it's more of a ratio, so it'd be 1 to 15 students would be where we like to tap out, or max out.
But what would be the maximum number of students you'd want in there? So you don't lose that,
The feel.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good question. We've talked about that a lot, like where would we start to lose that feel where everybody knows everybody and we're all there as one? And our estimates are about 100 students, maybe a little bit over that, and we could still maintain that small family type feel. Could we go more than that, 120? I imagine, but that's what we've been talking about as the number beyond which it would be hard to maintain what we have going now. And that is, again, kind of theoretical number, right? We think we're going to get there sooner than later just because there does seem to be a little bit of an increase or a bump in demand on the type of programming we offer. Based on the number of students that are requesting to go there from the high school and so forth. So, one of the things I'm hoping, Amy, is that we can get out to other schools that have more students and kind of look at what their vibe is and see if they still are able to do that. So that's, I guess, a kind of a to be seen kind of thing, but that's what we're estimating as a faculty.
Chris, you brought up, in terms of thinking for the future, a potential emphasis in healthcare.
Yeah.
What would you need? What would have to happen in order for that to become a reality?
Yeah. So one of the things would be, like I said, a lab so that we could actually do real labs. Right now, we kind of do the simulations more than anything. So we would have space to do, a space to do or offer chemistry on site, for instance, physiology, advanced biology. And it's not that we would have a path that students would graduate from our program with certification, but we would prepare them to move to that next step and help them, decide on a good fit. And then they would have the background in health careers to know whether or not that's for them. But I feel that because a number of our students get out and work as CNAs, nurse practitioners and so forth down the line, maybe we should be looking at that as kind of a mainstay in our program. Alongside the manufacturing, Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Are you right now at about the 14, 15 to 1? You're right now at about the ratio you're...
Yep. So right now, we're pretty good. Right now, it's kind of a space issue because now that COVID's a little less, dire situation, because our rooms are really small. We kind of converted these conference rooms to classrooms, so it's mainly a space issue. So in our new place, I think that'll be less of an issue. And we've bumped up to 18 students. If there's a class that a bunch of kids need, you kind of go that route. But you get over 20 and you lose that feel. A lot of our students really thrive on the one-to-one as much as they can get, So
Grow students, you have to grow staff.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting. It's sort of different by grade level. So the younger students that come in need a lot more. They're high-need students. There's no question about it. We've had students literally curled up in a corner and not talking for a week, and then we move to a chair in a classroom, and then suddenly we're moving to doing assignments, and so there's a pretty exponential curve. But the one-on-one is really helpful when they're coming into the program. A little less so when they're seniors and kind of a more understanding of the program and what we can do for them.
Chris, I just was particularly struck by the community collaborations and the resources that you and your staff have reached out to include in supporting your students and their unique needs. And so I know you mentioned the social worker that has recently been added has been a huge part of that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of a game changer because the needs were very similar before we had that position, and we tried to do our best job to be like part-time social workers, but it's really amazing to have someone that's really all she does is connect, students and families with resources. So
Excellent, great.
yeah, it's super. I'm really, really thankful for that position. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up partnerships, Lindsay, because I was going to too as well. I think it's a good idea for us to stop and recognize what good partners the university has been for us this year in our time of need.
Yes.
To open up their building in a space that's worked really well for your students.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and I totally agree, and I mentioned that a lot, that just, timing-wise was really great, but they have been wonderful. As you might recall, when we had to leave our water damaged building, I made one call to Ellen at the university, and within a few minutes, we had worked out a space that we could use for the remainder of the year, no questions. They were really accommodating, letting us kind of change the layout and so forth of the building and doing what they could for us furniture-wise and a bunch of other things. So yes, you're exactly right, and incredibly thankful to the folks at the university. Mm-hmm. We were kind of lucky, in so many ways. Yeah, that was great.
Anything else?
Anything else? Okay, well, thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Chris, and make sure you extend a thanks to your staff and for all of the work that they do with our students as well. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate your interest in our program for sure.
All right, we are going to move on to reports. I do not believe that we have any other administrative reports. Okay, and so we are actually going to move directly to the superintendent's report.
I'll just, I'll be brief. Usually here, it seems, for the last, 2 years, it's been a PowerPoint presentation at this point in the agenda, and knock on wood, we're going to stop doing PowerPoint presentations on a COVID update. Our numbers, thankfully, COVID test positive numbers continue to be low in our district as well as our community and two-county area. We're thankful to be in a different place where you as a board went with the optional mask policy at the end of February. things are progressing well. I just wanted to mention at this meeting that we will continue to provide families with a Friday memo from my desk, and we're going to continue to include some other things in that memo besides COVID-related information. Good news stories. Also, we will provide and continue to update on a weekly basis our district website with regard to COVID numbers. And so we have the dashboard, the COVID dashboard. If you go to our website, you can find the dashboard there, and we will continue to keep that updated on a weekly basis. The other thing that I wanted to update the board on was that we held 3 listening sessions with our community, March 1st, 7th, and 8th. We invited the community to come in. We had a nice turnout at each of the 3 sessions. It was an opportunity for us really to create a forum for the community to have a voice and to engage in discussion as the district is in the process of developing a new strategic plan. We wanted to hold those listening sessions as a part of that process. We will be mailing to all residents a district newsletter coming up here in a few days. It'll land in your mailbox, and you will notice in that newsletter a reference to a community survey. And so that's another opportunity that we're encouraging and inviting community members to complete that survey, all of that information along with the listening sessions, along with a separate survey to students and a separate survey for staff, the community survey. All of that information will come together as we identify some common themes for the development of that new strategic plan. And so that's all moving rather quickly right now, and I intend to bring to the board at the June meeting a strategic plan for your review and approval. So that's all coming up here in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm going to link those two and say that one of the comments that I heard at the public comment time was appreciation for your communications. And so I think that your Friday weekly reports have been well received, not only in terms of COVID information, but the other bits of information that you've used. You've used that vehicle to get time out,
Yeah, thanks.
information out. So I think it's really important. People appreciate it.
Yeah, we know that we cannot over-communicate, and there's always room to improve on that. So we'll keep working to do things better. Along that line, I'll also just mention that we're in the process of a redo on our district website. We're hoping to make that a little more visually attractive and certainly, first and foremost, a little more user-friendly. There's 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack when you get to that website. There's just a pile of information, and so we're going to try to create a website that will make that a little more user-friendly as a part of communications as well.
Thank you. We will move on to action items. And at this point, before the board, we have meeting minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting held on February 21st. We also have bills that have been submitted for payment, as well as employment recommendations. I point out to people that in that employment recommendations document, we are going to lose through retirement some people who are, and leaving some people who have been very important to our district. So we're going to have some hard goodbyes to say at the end of this year. But at this point, do we have a motion to approve minutes, bills, and employment as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Todd. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I have one,
Yes.
sorry, one really quick discussion. There's, on that list, there's 5 short-term on-call substitute teachers.
Yes?
I'm just curious about a little more information for those. Are those spread out at the schools, or is that district-wide at certain schools? I'm sorry, I'm not.
I'm going to ask Dave, district-wide.
So those would be new hires who've applied in the last month to be on our sub list, which would allow them access to sub in all buildings. Now, when they're hired, they have the flexibility to choose if they have a specific level that they want to work with or a specific content area that they want to focus on. So we have some subs who have a pretty big wingspan and can teach in different buildings and different content areas, and others that maybe
high school or some that focus on elementary, but broadly, we approve them to be on our entire
In the pool.
list. Yep.
Got it, okay, thank you.
And it's always good when we add to our list of subs.
We've seen a significant increase over this year, due in part to some of the salary or the hourly wage adjustments that we've made.
Good. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, we are going to move on to the Personnel Committee, and I'll ask you, Amy.
Yep, so the Personnel Committee met on February 28th, and we went through a series of different issues. We talked about the school psychologist job description consolidation. We heard an insurance study committee update, 2022, 2023 certified staffing update. And then lastly, a one-time addition of 2 paid sick days for next year, so for the 2022, 2023 school year. I don't know if you want to add anything on that, but.
Yes, so we did a lot of research on use of sick time this year because of our COVID mitigation strategies and expectations for staff to stay home when they are, maybe before they would feel well enough to push through and come to school. We kind of asked them to have a higher bar for what it meant to stay home, and we've identified that, especially for those who have to stay home if they have a sick child as well, an increased use of sick time because of those mitigation strategies. In the prior year, we had FFCRA, which was a federal paid sick leave option for our staff to be able to use. We didn't adopt that this year, so that just comes out of their normal sick leave. And so we felt that this was a good recognition of them following those mitigation strategies if they come back next year.
And then, what? School calendar, yep. And then the last thing was to approve the start of contract negotiations. So we have 4 recommended actions, so I would make the motion to approve the 2022-23 school calendar and important dates.
I think you could take all of
Oh, you want me to do all of them?
Sure.
Okay. Approve the consolidated school psychologist job description. Approve the one-time addition of 2 paid sick days for all employees for the 2022-23 school year. And approve the commencement of contract negotiations.
Thank you, Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Cindy. Any discussion? Dave, I really appreciate your proactive work on the 2 added days and the conversation and making that decision. I think that that's the right thing to do for our people, so I appreciate that. Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Because Alan is not able to be with us tonight and he chairs the Educational Program Committee, I'm going to call on Jennifer to give this committee report.
All right, so Educational Program Committee met beginning of the month on March 7th. And we started off by Mr. Chapin providing an update on standards-based learning and the work that's being tied to the professional learning community, work that's being done at Meyer Middle School, really focused on student learning. So he shared a lot of the current action steps, proficiency scales, and how teachers are really drilling down into identifying those key topics to prioritize instruction with, as well as all of the work that has gone into that, reviewing data, moving forward, looking at taking time to create common assessments, and really doing this methodically and slowly over the next couple of years. So they're looking at a rollout in the 2023-24 school year. So not rushed, but doing some more work throughout next year so that they can pilot the program, get some more feedback. Another key component to that is how will they get parents involved and really explain the process to parents in that process. Mr. Lidkey at the high school also provided committee members with an update regarding the Lade system and some of the transitions that we've had with just graduation on a 4.0 scale and transitioning to the Summa, Magna, and Cum Laude designations as well. So at the end of this year, they're going to really look at the first 2 years of that data and come back to the board probably in July for some recommendations on maybe some recalibration with that data moving forward. And plenty of time too, so that they can communicate that information to incoming freshman classes and their families. So trying to be very proactive in that approach. I took the opportunity to provide board members with a summer school update. We're going back to that traditional approach to summer school that we implemented back in 2019, where we were really creating engaging opportunities for students, hands-on learning, creating an excitement to be in school through also taking the opportunity to learn about reading, math, and different STEM activities. So getting kids really engaged. And happily, I had a few board members almost in tears, and myself included, because teachers are really just expressing board appreciation for being able to go back to that format and really having the opportunity to see smiling faces that week. So we can talk about that as well. So it was quite a nice highlight to top off the evening. We also had two action items that the board will need to vote on this evening. The first was to approve the continued girls hockey co-op. That will continue this upcoming year with St. Croix Central and Baldwin Woodville, and River Falls will take the lead on that co-op as we have in the past. That's just a reduction of one school. The Ellsworth student that had been a part of that co-op has since moved to River Falls and is a resident here. So it's just a 3-school co-op, and those are co-op agreements with WIAA that occur every 2 years. So then the final approval is the annual CISA 11 shared services agreement for the upcoming 22-23 school year.
Thank you, Jennifer. Lindsay, do you want to add anything since you were at the meeting? Or she covered it?
Yeah, she covered it. I mean, I left there feeling so excited for summer school. And I know there's a lot of energy behind that. And I just recognize all of the work that you have put into that and your team and getting all the people in place and getting the excitement behind that programming. That's a really important thing for our students, particularly this year as we're coming out of the past 2 years, to be able to open up our doors and get kids really highly engaged and excited about learning. And
And I guess a current update was we're over 275 registrations, and a majority of classes are full. So I've been busy doing some interviews with external teachers, and we'll work with Dave to bring on a few additional teachers. And so by the end of this week, we're going to be opening new sections and reposting that on Facebook and getting it out there with the teachers so that families who are trying to sign their kids up for summer school, which is still coming. Summer school enrollment's supposed to be open to the beginning of May, so we're going to be adding as many classes as we can and getting them out there this week.
awesome.
That's important for families to know. And since you weren't on a mic, I'm going to reiterate that in the coming weeks, there will be some expanded opportunities for summer schools. So any families still interested should check it out and sign up. I want to point out, like I often do, that when it comes to our annual board evaluation and we need to consider if we have research shared services, we do. CISA 11, everybody, right here. So we do that. We should all get nice big 5 stars when we put that down. All right. All right.
I said it, you weren't there, and I said,
Good.
just so Stacy's not here, and I know she would say it.
You guys take over for me when I'm not here. That makes me proud. All right. At this point, do we have a motion to approve the girls hockey co-op as well as the CISA 11 shared services agreement for the 22-23 school year?
So moved.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is there a second? Thank you, Amy. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. We are going to move on to a proposed resolution in support of environmental sustainability. This is something that the board has done in the past, but this will be a renewal of our commitment. So Mike Noreen, we have 2 mics in the back. Mike Noreen, would you be willing to come up and give us a bit of a history and then talk about this new renewal, please?
Mike, I took a little bit of the short course. I just included in the board packet the memo that you had provided to the city council rather than rewrite it in my own words.
Yeah, that's fair.
You did a great job with articulating. It's a resolution that really it reaffirms and embraces a prior commitment that the city originated this with the city, the school district, the university, and
not CVTC at that time. But now that's one of the changes. So thank you for having me up here. And I do want to express my appreciation for the job that you guys do and the dedication you've done or shown for the last couple of years. It's been tough, so you might not always get it, but you have a lot of support there in the community, so including myself. So with this sustainability proclamation, really it is, as Jamie said, it's a reaffirmation of what we're already doing as a school district, as a city of River Falls, and as a university when looking at sustainability, when making decisions, whether it's really across the board. So how we would reaffirm is through partnerships, through the working with the city, working with the university, whether it's financial resources or people or knowledge. Things that might include the facilities, like you've done with the upgrades and working with the city, with the Renaissance Academy, working with Chris Silver and the university and the housing and so on, and now with CVTC getting more engaged in the community, buying the new Moody's property, expanding there, looking for more options for again partnerships with the three other partners. So wanting to get them, so kind of the big four now. And again, just looking for sustainability to take a continued higher list, a higher priority in our decision making. So that's my elevator speech for tonight. But, do you have any
Great.
questions for me?
It starts on page 29. So I assume board members have had a chance to review this. Are there any questions or comments?
So I'm looking back at the one that was signed by Don Richards, 10th of April, 2012. Is that, was that the original?
That was.
Okay.
That was. Yeah, and as you know, a lot has changed in 10 years. And so this is just kind of keeping up with those changes, keep everyone on board.
And just remind me, was that when did City Hall open?
That was in 2009.
Okay. So some of this stuff was in place after the city had already attained was it silver?
Right.
Lead
silver.
What I'm trying to get at is, I guess, what came out of, what was it, was this done to start the City Hall, but it sounds like City Hall happened before that, and they were already doing some of the renewable energy things.
Yeah, we had started with renewable energy. It was pretty small amount. And since the city has gone to 100% renewable energy, we worked certainly with the school district to get community solar. Rocky Branch has got, I don't know how many shares, maybe 7 or 8 shares, something like that. We're having people donate their shares to the school district. But it's also resources of working together to, let's say, with Chad to make these buildings as efficient as possible. And then we provide, whether it's human resources or rebates as well to make that happen.
Okay.
Several, without getting into the laundry list of the specifics, with the generous support of our community in passing the most recent referendum, a lot of those improvements were made with these things in mind, with the HVAC system, that improvements that were made across the district has been immense, with energy use and efficiency, not to mention something as simple as lighting, with adding far more LED lighting, and the list goes on to some of those commitments that the district has made along this path of working with the city. And I'll just also pat Mike on the back. He's been awesome. He's helped us to secure funds, good partnership. The taxpayers like to hear when there's partnerships going on between the city and the school district, and Mike's been instrumental with a lot of those kind of activities. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie.
Jenny Ames asked me if I would take the opportunity to get a photo up for social media of the partnership with the district, so perhaps Jamie and Mike got hands
Gotta get a photo up. Go for it.
I think we should pass this.
Yeah.
I think we should pass this first. Let's, first things first. Okay.
Something together, even if it's out here, just
How about Chad?
What this resolution does is it really makes public what our values are as a school district as well as a community. So this is important. At this point, do we have a motion to,
that way with the board in the background.
Are we passing this?
apparently not.
All right, I'll move to approve.
Okay,
I'll
thank you,
second.
Todd, and thank you, Amy. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now I need a picture, right?
That's hard. Handshake there.
One last thing thank you. On April 24th, we have an Earth Fest event, big event planned for Glen Park from 2 to 5, excuse me. But we're going to do a joint signing of the big four that will be there. So I'll let you guys figure out who's going to be there. Presumably be Jamie, but I don't know. It's you guys make that call. But so there'll be we'll certainly raise the level of awareness that the big four are signing.
That's great. This really has been a meeting where we're highlighting a large number of partnerships within our community. So
Yeah, thank you.
proud to have the district part
Thanks
of
for
it. Thanks,
coming,
Mike.
Mike.
Thanks a lot. All right, we are going to move on to E, which is about the health insurance provider for 2022-2023 school year. Amy and Dave, do you want to tag team this, please?
Yeah, so the insurance study committee really went through a bidding process for our health insurance provider for the 22-23 school year. The insurance study committee insurance study committee is made up of representatives from every building as well as representatives from all the different departments and employee groups. The goal in the bidding process was to maintain our current plan design and also find a way to do that in the most cost-effective way.
Oh, thank you, Cindy.
I was trying to be loud. But anyway, so that was our goal going into this, and we had 8 different carriers that submitted either a fully insured bid or a self-insured proposal. And after careful consideration and review, we narrowed that down to a place where we're ready to make a recommendation to the board. And that recommendation is to move to Medica's Choice Plus Passport Plan. It will offer us the exact same design that we have with our current provider, which is favored by our employees as far as a high deductible plan that also has an HSA component. We've transitioned to that over the last 5 years and been very happy with that. We did a lot of research with changing to Medica and making sure that the network that we have is in similar size and scope. So we're not taking employees and moving them to a very small network. This network is a national network that is comparable to where we were. And the best piece is the overall cost of the premium is going to go down by about 4%, 4.1%, when you look at the 2 different plan options that we have. So we're really excited about that and the trajectory it puts us on for our health insurance costs. And so even though it will require some adjustments, I know that Amanda Hoopert and myself and Chad will work very hard with Medica to create a plan so we get the information to our staff so they can make the choices during the open enrollment period and understand what those changes will look like and be aware of what those changes are. So the recommendation is from the Insurance Study Committee to select Medica's Choice Plus Passport Plan for the 2022-23 school year.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate too, that this was a decision that was made collaboratively with the insurance study committee, and there was a representative from every school, different grade levels, so there was all different makeup of employees that were in on this decision, so.
Amy, that's a really important point. I sit on that committee, and it's a really engaged, very wise committee, asking good questions, working together. So nobody, I would imagine, would feel like it was a decision made without teacher input, staff input, so it's great. All right, do we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. Is there a second? I'll second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. All right, do we have any proposed or suggested items for future board meeting agendas? Hearing none, we are going to move on to schedule some upcoming meetings. So the Personnel Committee executive session will be Tuesday, March 22nd at 4:30 here in the district office. Finance and Facilities will meet Monday, March 28th at 6 o'clock, again in the district office. Educational Program Committee will meet Monday, April 14th at 6 o'clock. The Personnel Committee
April 4th.
April, yes. Personnel will meet Tuesday, April 5th at 4:30. All of these so far have been in the district office. The Personnel will also meet Monday, April 11th at 6 o'clock. The next regular board meeting will be Monday, April 18th at 6 o'clock. And it says that that's in the high school. Is that intentional?
It was at one point, did we change that today?
We can, yes, if that's what we moved.
Yeah, Chad,
Stay
you're
tuned.
okay that we're not going to do the food thing with the board on the 18th?
Okay.
And therefore, we will be back in this room as opposed to the high school auditorium.
All right, so please make that change. And then the board reorganizational meeting will be Monday, April 25th at 6 o'clock right here at this point. And I will simply point out in closing that we have two candidates. I hope people are voting in the upcoming school board election. Lindsay Curtis is on the ballot, and Mike Miller, who served the board very faithfully for a number of years. So, and with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.